Our next speaker is Ambassador Benaoyagha Okoyen. He's going to be talking to us about protocol as a policy tool from ceremony to strategy. Ambassador Okoyen is a distinguished career diplomat, protocol strategist, and an international relations expert over 3 decades of impactful public service, an Oxford University trained diplomat, and a certified corporate etiquette and international protocol specialist of the Protocol School of Washington. He is widely respected for his depth of experience in diplomacy, governance, and high-level state protocol management. His career spans service across all 3 tiers of government, demonstrating exceptional expertise in diplomatic representation, international negotiations, intergovernmental coordination, and executive protocol administration. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ambassador Okoyen discussing protocol as a policy tool from ceremony to strategy. The stage is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, my dear colleagues, esteemed diplomats, protocol professionals, participants, and ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to address this important summit at this very frontier of our profession. Let me thank the organizers for the invitation. The theme of the summit is a call to unite leaders, shape policies, and launch a new era. This is not a future aspiration. It is the current mandate for the modern protocol officer. It is important to note that in the past, protocol has been synonymous with the rigid etiquette, sitting plans, flag position, and the meticulous ceremonial compliances in the managing events. It is important for us to also know that this theme today was very apt, and I intend to bring more understanding of the protocol profession by moving it from the peripheral of the ceremony to very out of strategy. While the indispensable ceremonial compliances was a very basis of our work in the foundation, they are not our literature itself. Indeed, the literature of our modern protocol is policy. A protocol is now at the frontier of governance and of diplomacy and of international influence. In fact, I was very blessed by most of our speakers dwelling on the same topic and in different aspects of it. It is a deliberate instrument of statecraft and policy implementation. Protocol is a strategic narrative written through every meeting agenda, every gesture, every cultural nuance acknowledged, and every symbolic act staged. Protocol becomes a policy tool when used intentionally to influence and manage relationships, perceptions, and outcomes without formal legislation or public declaration. In this presentation, I would like to look at why this topic is important. We'll look at the traditional understanding of protocol, the strategic shift of protocol from the ceremony to strategy, protocol as a silent diplomacy, protocol also as a tool for foreign policy and crisis management, national branding, multilateral diplomacy, global protocol frontier, and the launching of the new era and the future of our protocol profession. Why it matters. Protocol is no longer ceremonial, though is the basic and the foundation of our profession. It's not trivial, but the optics now influence policy outcomes. Symbolism shapes legitimacy. The processes of ceremony and all that now communicates power. And diplomacy itself is increasingly becoming public. The important note here is protocol has become a strategic governance instrument, which is very important in the profession, and we must be aware of this shift. Protocol is often misunderstood as a mere ceremony, but in reality, it is a strategic instrument of statecraft. When used deliberately, it shapes perception, signal priorities, manage relationships, and advance national interests, which is exactly what policy aims to do. It is important, like we have mentioned, to know that the tradition and the foundation is not completely thrown out, but it is important for us to know the shifts. At the stage where we are is a stage we need to recognize and make visible to the practitioners of this profession. How has this shifted from the traditional, which was a focus on doing things? The process is the goal. The characteristics of the foundation itself was checklist compliances, ritualistic behavior, status quo preservation, maintaining orders of precedence, flag items, and seating arrangements. But the limitation here has been mastering the ceremonial foundation is necessary as a baseline of our credibility, but not sufficient because protocol is seen as a supportive service, not policy asset at this stage. This strategic shift from ceremony to strategy. Protocol become a strategic policy tool, like I said earlier, when it is used not just to transmit information, but to structure the environment, define the rules of engagement, and create dependency. It is the ultimate form of soft power, like other speakers have said, in the digital world, where the ability to set the standard is often more powerful than the ability to build bigger products. This move from ceremony to strategy happens when leadership recognizes that the protocol is a source of structural power. Protocol become a source of power. How can protocol become a policy tool? Protocol become a policy tool in different ways. One of the ways is by signaling political priorities through symbolism. When we decide who is to be invited, who sit where, who speak first, what symbols are displayed all send policy signals. To shape the policy impact of this is that this is shaping international perception without issuing a formal statement. A good example is when a summit arrangements at various organizations are concentrated on achieving a particular objective. In advancing diplomatic negotiation through structural engagement, protocol determines the environment in which negotiations occur. Atmosphere influences the outcome. How it works in practical terms. A carefully designed state visit creates trust before negotiations begins. Informal side meetings arranged through protocol channels resolve deadlocks. Hosting, order, and hospitality build goodwills. How does this have impact on policy? It creates psychological and relational conditions necessary for agreements to be reached. Good example could be a high-level diplomatic engagement coordinated within the United Nations rely heavily on protocol to facilitate negotiation spaces. In managing recognition and legitimacy, one other way protocol can become policy tool is to manage recognition and legitimacy. Protocol determines who is officially received, recognized, or ignored. This is a powerful policy tool. How does this work in practice? Granting or denying state visit status or accreditation of ambassadors, diplomatic ranks, and honors. The impact on policy is conferring legitimacy or signal disapproval without formal sanctions. Example could be recognition procedures handled by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, reflected in Nigeria's official foreign policy stand towards governments and political actors. The other point is software projection and national branding. Protocols showcase national identity, values, and competencies. In practice, cultural performances during visits is a visible tool for this change. Precisions of ceremonial organizations, presentations of national achievements. What these have on policy impact is it enhances influence, attractiveness, and credibility globally. A good example is Global Summit hosted by World Economic Forum use protocol staging to position countries as economic leaders or innovators. Next is crisis management and de-escalation. Protocol provides structured communication channels during tension. In practice, emergency diplomatic settings could be explored to achieve all this. Special envoys received with specific honors and carefully worded ceremonial gestures to calm tensions. The policy impact of these could prevent escalation while maintaining dignity and dialogue. Next is institutional hierarchy and governance discipline. Protocol ensure order inside government system, which is essential for policy execution. It is a chain of command in official events, authority recognition in decision forums, and procedural discipline in international gathering. The policy impact of institutional hierarchy and governance discipline is structured decision-making process within the European Union depend heavily as an example on protocol hierarchy. The next is economic and strategic messaging. Protocol arrangements communicate economic policy direction. These, in turn, allow business leaders to be included in state visits, investment forum attaches to diplomatic ceremonies, other or bilateral meetings reflected in trade priority meetings. The policy impact of this is the signal of markets where partnership and investments are encouraged. Conflicts resolution and peace building, domestic political messaging, strategic assets are other aspects of the shift from this profession to strategy and policy as a policy tool. Carefully balanced representation, and finally, the shift from the ceremonial compliances to strategic to protocol is now translates policy into visible actions, manages perceptions and legitimacy, prevents diplomatic incidents, and enforces national branding. Establishing hierarchy and respect, and finally, building trust. Protocol is now a silent diplomacy. It speaks when words are avoided, signal intents without statements, preserve dignity during tensions, open doors when negotiations are stale. It is important to note that well-executed protocol often succeeds where formal diplomacy hesitates. Protocol as a foreign policy tool. Protocol determines the recognition, like we mentioned earlier, access, status, and equality or hierarchy. Protocol in the multilateral setting, a lot of lessons could be drawn from United Nations and multilateral summits and international organizations. Equality of states, neutrality, and order or predictability. In the global frontier, uniting leaders and shaping policies, protocol is the ultimate integrator. We are the subtle engineers of the human connection upon which political agreements are built. In shaping policies, we must be at the planning table from inception. The protocol officer must ask, what is the policy goal of this visit? Is it to ensure a trade deal, garner support on a security issue, or repair a strained relations? Once defined, every protocol decision, from the composition of the delegation to the final toast, must be aligned to serve that goal. It is important for us to also look at the index error, why we measure protocol. Protocol effectiveness should be measured, should be documented, like other speakers have said, and standardized. A possible indices are protocol preparedness index, the diplomatic reception efficiency, and the crisis response protocol rating. the cultural sensitivity score, and among others. What is not measured is often undervalued. We must champion the development of a new metrics that moves beyond counting events to measuring the outcome. Global frontier is no longer at the stage of red carpets. Protocol strategies is now in the situation room, trade negotiation chambers, and the digital summit platforms. Our tools are no longer just invitations and flags. They are strategic access, cultural insights, symbolic narration, and crisis management. It is important for us to also know that the future of protocol professionals is moving from event managers to policy advisors to strategic thinkers to cultural negotiators and risk managers. Protocol officers must sit at the policy table. In conclusion, it is important for us to know that protocol is no longer how we welcome guests. It is how we project power, preserve dignity, manage differences, and advance national interests. In modern governance, policy is not only what governments say, it is also what they stage. This is where protocol is important and who they honor and how they engage. As we stage this global protocol frontier, let us unite leaders through informal protocol, shape policies through strategic symbolism, and launch an index era that recognizes protocol as a core governance function. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that insightful representation, PowerPoint presentation over there. And, it's been insightful and very, very knowledgeable. Thank you so much for that.